everybody. We are in Sunset Sound Studio 1. We've been tracking all day. We've tracked 5 songs with a new artist called Chloe, and I don't know, it's like sometimes a bit Latin, usually more Motowny, Staxy, classic Atlantic stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. So we did some unusual things. Firstly, I don't think I've ever done a breakdown video in this room in Studio 1. I did the Van Halen breakdown with the kids here, but that was a whole different setup because we were mimicking and mirroring the original Van Halen album. This is different. This is like a proper like rock and roll session, if you like. And our drummer over here is Matt Musty. And we're going to go through and talk about all of the miking. And Zach, Sunset Sound, one of their assistants, is sitting in there. He's going to be recording it. So as we're talking about it, you can actually hear the mics. And then we'll go back and do a breakdown of the channel by channel, what EQ we did or didn't apply. How are you?
I'm good.
Did you have fun?
Had a good day. Did you have a good day?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I mean, I think we had a little bit more of a setup time because this is Zach's first session with me, so he wasn't probably as au fait as some of the other guys. But he did an amazing job, and it's interesting because I wanted a big kick, and when I first saw that, I walked in, I was like, "This is exactly what I want. No hole in the head." But I looked at it and went, "It's quite small." But play it for us. Pretty big. Oh, yeah. So it's a big sound. We were thinking that we were going to do 2, 3, possibly maximum 4 songs without a hole in it, and we were going to change out the kick. But it seemed to work on every single song.
Yeah, no hole, no muffling at all, just wide open drum.
But did we change the snare on every track? Nearly.
I think we did, yeah. I think we probably used 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it made it, so we kept the sound of the low end from this kick. Now, what's the snare you got up at the moment?
This is a Yamaha Steve Jordan signature model. I don't know if they make them anymore, but it's just a maple drum that sounds great, real consistent, any tuning. Yeah,
we were talking about the Yamaha snares. They did quite a few signature series of different drummers, and they really seem to sound amazing. We didn't do anything particularly recording-wise that different. We've got a 57 top and bottom. Let's have a listen to it. For a wooden drum, it's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, it's kind of raspy in the room too. It sounds different, colored up by some mics and gear, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to hearing wooden drums being a lot duller than that, a lot less exciting. I mean, there's something great about that Steve Jordan snare.
And we were doing this thing on this last track.
Yeah.
Got a nice cross stick sound.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think to use a wooden hoops for a cross stick.
Sounds great.
It sounded really, really cool. So 57 top and bottom on that. Those of you that know my hi-hat miking know that this is a trick that's completely and utterly stolen from Dave Jordan. This is Dave Jordan's trick where he would take a small diaphragm condenser and a 57. He used to just tape them together. So this is a 451 and an SM57. And then we just blend them on the console. Those look like a nice old pair of Zildjians.
Yeah, I'm a freak with hi-hats, and this is a mismatched.
Oh, it is?
What's
on the bottom?
This is a newer, like a special dry on bottom. Special dry top hi-hat on bottom, and then some 70s Zildjian 15s.
Nice.
But the hats changed almost every tune too, so we used a bunch of stuff.
Let's have a listen to this.
Yeah.
Great. Really, really nice. Now, overhead-wise, before we get to the kick, just because we're in cymbal world. So the overheads are a pair of 67s and a single 87. And the way we have them done is they're measured to the center of the snare. So all 3 mics are exactly the same distance away from the center of the snare. We do multiple mics. There's a lot of my mentors use tons of mics. Dave Jordan does tons of mics. And to be honest, I like to use most of them and mix them any way I want, but then I can also go, okay, what does it sound like if I just use the snare mic, one of the kick mics, and a mono overhead? And then I get like an accurate mono drum sound. So it makes mixing a lot more fun. Let's just hear just the overheads.
Sure.
Fantastic. Really cool. Really, really cool. And so while we're here then, cymbals, what is this?
Yes, a Zildjian, it's like I think they're 50s reissue kind of type cymbals, Carope.
Super thin.
Yeah, it's really great, super dark.
Does it come with the rivets, or did you put them in?
I put those in and cut my hand the other day on those, getting them out of the bag, and it just went shh. So rivets can be dangerous, but they sound great.
What size is this?
20.
It's a 20.
Yeah.
And then the ride?
Yeah, K Zildjian Constantinople medium thin low 22 with tape and holes.
Tape and X rivet holes.
And this is and it kind of dips down here because that's where I end up playing it a lot. I've had this cymbal for 10, 15 years.
Wow, well it sounds great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then last but no means least, another 20.
Yeah, Constantinople Renaissance, which I'm kind of falling in love with. Great, super dark wash, short, and has a beautiful, odd musical flat bell. The Ks and the Constants have such a great bell sound, I've found.
All of your cymbal choices are all have tone, they all have character.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met a drummer that would have 3 of these kind of cymbals. Most drummers would be 1 ride that would have the character, and then 2 cymbals that go pss, pss.
Yeah, quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did, depending on the tune today, switched out some stuff, but this is a good general dark palette, especially for the Stax Motown Atlantic thing that we were going for.
That was great. Really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll flick quickly to the kick drum before we go to the toms. Now, those of you that are familiar will know all of these mic choices. A FET 47 is, I don't know, an industry standard, should we say? I mean, most people would go for a FET 47 on the kick. Here, as you can see, it's on the outside head. There's a D12 here, which is absolutely phenomenal. We all know D12s. Mine, unfortunately, is broken. I'm hoping to get it fixed. And then a Coles, which is basically twice the length away. So imagine you've got the kick here, and you've got the kick again. That's where the Coles are. Sometimes I will baffle all this stuff off. In fact, there was a point earlier on we were thinking about baffling everything off. And then when we pulled it all up, and with the kick without the hole in it, I liked the way it was filling up the room. And it made me think of Michael Beinhorn talking about all the tricks he would do to try and get things to bleed and actually sound bigger. So it made me think, you know what, I'm gonna let it be open. We didn't do any additional baffling. We didn't carpet this off or, baffle it off and create a tunnel, which quite often I might do. And this Coles is obviously picking up a lot more than just the kick, but it's nice. It adds in, makes a drum kit feel like one thing as opposed to lots of separate mics. Can I hear the kick for a bit? Great. So that's the 3 mics, those 3 mics on the kick. And what we're doing is we're just printing this as we go live, so when you hear it, you're just going to hear the mics that we're talking about. Okay, toms, and this is, as Bradley Cook would joke, the standard thing to do. And I'm really standard, 421 top and bottom. I mean, it's probably the most, Michael Beinhorn, Dave Jordan, Bradley Cook, we were talking about Foo Fighters album he did, and he was
love Brad. He's the best.
Yeah, he's great, and he's like, yeah, 421s. He goes, just the standard stuff, because now people get really experimental and try, create some interesting palettes. But there is something, and JJ will laugh at me, but there is something an old reliable about 421s. And the top and bottom technique, not everybody does it, but I like doing it. It's Dave Jordan's thing. This is obviously reverse polarity. And I prefer it because it gets a little bit of cancellation in a good way. So some of the cymbal bleed actually gets canceled out because it's going to be completely opposite phase, opposite polarity. Let's hear the rack and the floor, same miking. Okay, you probably noticed this is as dead as a dead goldfish. I mean, it's it is dead.
Yeah.
I think the floor is actually fantastic. Carrying that back now, whatever that deadening is and whatever that bounce is, let me hear it again. Pretty special.
Yeah.
What are we didn't talk about the kick, but we'll go back to the second. What are the toms?
They're Club Date Ludwig reissues. So
nice.
like a modern take on the 60s thing.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're great.
And the kick?
The kick is, I think it's like a Japanese 60s like Slingerland knockoff. You know, it's something I got on Craigslist in Brooklyn years ago for like $40. You know,
nice.
It's just a good tool that I use all the time.
It's great. And what are you using? What's your kick pedal?
No, it's just a 9000, DW 9000,
DW9000.
little square beater on it. Sometimes I'll put a sweatband on the beater.
Right.
If you want something softer.
No, this was great. It was the right kind of balance.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move over. This is a talkback mic. So sometime at the moment, on this session, we only had two guys. We had Matt and we had John Button playing bass over there. But often I'll have guitars and keyboards and all kinds of other stuff going on. So I need a mic that's usually set into Omni, which this is. So set in Omni, so the nice thing is it will pick up the whole room. It's a talkback. It's being usually hit pretty hard. But it also becomes another mono room mic, which is rather nice. So this is our mono room mic / talkback. Now, for rooms, let's go immediately behind. There's a 67 pointed at the wall. And that's set flat, no roll off, and it gets the reflected sound in here. Would you mind playing drums and we'll listen to, let's listen first of all to the talkback. This is the mono talkback. Nice. Okay, now we're going to move over to just the 67 at the wall. Both of these have quite a bit of compression on them. Nice. Nice little, I like that. It was rehearsed almost. Like, here's my little, like... Okay.
This is my first rodeo, so I can't say that.
Okay, got 87s at the floor, I believe, by the looks of it. So 87s on the floor. Both these 87s are pointed reflected floor. They're my low room mics, and they are pointed, again, they are in phase, measured off to the snare. The same things on the overhead ones here, which are pointed, the highs pointing down. Those, of course, that's a U47, and there's a pair of them. So throwing a few dollars at the drum kit here. A lot of German microphones going on here. So let's listen to the lows first. The lows obviously aren't as bright because they're not aimed down as the cymbals, but they're still, pretty tasty. Nice. Okay, let's do the same thing again, but let's now listen to the high room mics. Great. All right, so we've covered, that's all the mics we use. I mean, it's a decent amount of mics, but I've definitely done more. Sometimes we have more fun with like mono room mics, but depending on the song, when I get back, I might, I'll probably blend them in different ways. But we didn't do a lot of compression or EQ, but we'll go and check that out now. Okay, so there's Zach. Say hello to Zach.
Hey.
So what he's going to do is we're going to solo each element, and it's the same snare that we just saw out there. So, and the same tom, same cymbals and everything. So now you're going to get to hear it in the context of a performance. So, Zach, would you mind soloing the D112, please, and playing the track?
Sure, sounds good.
Actually, it's not a D112, it's a D12.
It's a D12, yeah.
But you actually wrote D112, so the purists would be all upset.
Yeah, that I put it up and it was a little scratchy, so I had to get something else.
The D12 sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect. The D12 was the one. All right, so let's hear the D12. Cool. So what I've got going on here, get close up, 50 hertz boost, 400 cut. You know me, I love to cut the low mids and EQ in. So that is basically the kick. no compression, nothing. That's the D12 on the outside. If we move now, can we play for the 47th fret, please?
Sure.
Okay, 47 fret, EQ's engaged. Extra 50 hertz boost. Extra 400 cut. And a little 5K. Next up is the culls, which you saw pushed back. Now, what I love about the culls is giving us that that little air, that little bottom air. And you can tell there's a bit more bleed going on. It still sounds fantastic. Again, 50 boost, 400 cut, pretty aggressive. This time, a little 10K. Can we hear all three of those elements together? It's D12, 47, FET. It's a lot of low end. Absolutely love it. Okay, great. Moving on to the snare. All right, so here's the snare top. Okay, on the snare top, I'm actually quite aggressive on the low end. Got 100 hertz, pretty crazy, and then some 10K on there. So I'm boosting 100 hertz quite a lot and 10K. As you can tell, the snare, even though it's wood, has got a lot of ring. So if we go to the snare bottom now, nothing's engaged. We'll put the two together. Now it's a snare sound. There's something about that Steve Jordan snare that there is no bottom snare bleed into the top snare mic, which is very unusual. Cool. All right, next up, can you find some rack tom area?
Sure thing.
100 hertz boost, 400 hertz cut on both the top and the bottom. The only thing to remember on the bottom is I'm flipping the polarity. Cool, let's move on to the floor tom. Very similar EQ points. 100 hertz boost, 400 cut, both on the top and the bottom. And as you can imagine, the bottom is also polarity is flipped. Cool. Okay, let's go to the Mono 67, which is a mono room mic. This is the one up against the wall. All I did was cut a little 400. However, as you can see, there's an insert on this. If we go over here, we're using a distressor. This is playback at the moment, so it's not recording. But 6-to-1. Pretty high input, and then basically fastest release with the attack at the slowest, just to make it really, really snappy. The talkback mic is coming up here on a 160. It's actually not as crushed as I normally would do it, but you know, that could be a nice mono room mic. Okay, great. Next is hat. No EQ on the hat whatsoever. All I've done is I've got the 57 and 451. They're completely equal in volume. Sometimes I favor the 57 slightly. Literally just that. Overheads. Again, no compression, no EQ, nothing. Just a pair of beautiful 67s. And then of course the mono overhead, again, no compression, no EQ, nothing. Mono overhead. And that's the U87. Now the room highs were a little bit uneven, probably to sound fantastic though. And mainly, well only, low mid cut 400s, but being compressed. You see the insert is activated. So if we go over here, and it's just, the ratio is set pretty low, it's only on 3-to-1. But it just, I don't know, it just added that snap. And to be honest, I wanted a bit of mushiness in it, so everything's a bit as soon as you engage it. I don't normally though, honestly, use much compression on room mics. I usually wait until I'm going back, but I sort of wanted to create, not sort of, I definitely wanted to create the drum sound here. So here's the room lows. All I've really done here is cut just a bit of 400, which is like a low mid thing. I do that a lot when I mix anyway, so it's nice to kind of get it done early. And I didn't do any compression or any additional EQ on those mics. I usually find these are my most accurate because you can hear it's like kick and snare. The highs I love, but they are pointing down, so you're going to get a lot of extra cymbal bleeds. I might take the highs that I smashed and just blend them in underneath. Sometimes I'll take the rooms and actually put reverb on them, believe it or not. Like a little bit, like 20% of a verb on it to make it a little bigger. So anyway, that is all of the drums. So as you can see, as a basic overview, look, it's not a home setup. It's not 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6 mics. It's definitely a lot more than that. However, you know, it's pretty simple EQ, 50 boosts on the kicks, various degrees of 400 low mids pulled out, and only a little bit of top boost. Then snare, only the snare top has a 10K boost and a 100 boost. The snare bottom is completely natural. The racks and the floors have 100 boost and 400 cut, but nothing else. The mono room mic on the 67, 400 cut. Hi-hats, nothing. Overheads, nothing, not on any of 3 of them. High rooms, just 400 out. Low rooms, just 400 out. And again, only a little touch. So really, if you think about it, I mean, to be honest, I could have printed this flat and left a lot of this to the mix stage. However, it's kind of nice, to say the least. It's very nice, not even kind of nice. It's very nice to be able to utilize really nice EQs. We've got these incredible, you know, Sunset Sound designed mic pre's, which have an amazing sound. And then you combine that with really nice old, you know, vintage API 550As, and then a couple of like, you know, strategic things like the 33609 Neve and 1176, which, by the way, the snare one, this is Joe Ciccarelli's personal one. Thanks, Joe. And the 33609 is also Joe's. Thanks, Joe. You know, so there's some nice, this is a handful of nice things. We actually didn't use the 160 XT on the kick. It's there if we needed it. But I actually found that when I put it in, it killed a little bit of the low end, which is typical of a lot of compressors sometimes, especially more inexpensive ones. And to be honest, we thought we were going to change that kick out from song to song, but we ended up using the same kick on every song. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Please feel free to ask any questions. And I love reading the comments. Thank you ever so much and have a marvelous time recording.